Hello, this is Greg Allison on Green Gregs. I'm here to tell you an alert today about the tsunami that's expected in Hawaii, Alaska, the West Coast. We just had an 8.8 magnitude earthquake that struck 85 miles off the coast of the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. And there's already been a tsunami produced by this. Sometimes you get these earthquakes and you get a tsunami alert. There's no tsunami, but we've already had one reach the Japanese island of Hokkaido. And that earthquake was about, that tsunami was about 15.7 inches in depth. Now, why does 15.7 inches in depth matter? It matters because, it's not a earth ending, it's not a civilization crashing tsunami, but it's significant. I'm going to tell you about these and more. I got other stuff to talk about too that you need to be aware of related to earthquakes and tsunamis and things like that. Volcanoes. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about here. So just buckle up. Now, what we need to know here is that 6 inches of fast moving water is all it takes that could knock an adult over. It would be a problem for a kid, a toddler, a pet, and make cars difficult to control. Now, 12 inches of water, which the one that hit Hokkaido was 15.7. It's thought it's going to be up to 3 meters now, my friends, 39, maybe to 118 inches in Hawaii. So this could be very significant, very significant. So this is nothing to sneeze at, my friends. But 12 inches of 1 foot of rushing water can sweep most sedan vehicles off the road. Now, an SUV or truck probably needs about 24 inches of water to take them off the road. I have seen some go through more, but that's a very risky proposition. Yeah, I did it once myself. But do not recommend that at all. You take your life into risk being floated down a river or something like that, especially since when you got rushing water, you don't know how much roadway it may have ate out below, how deep it really may be. It may look like it's 12 inches deep, it might be deeper. So you got to be very, very careful about that. So the danger isn't just the depth, it's the speed and force of the water. So these are things you need to know. I thought it was very important just to let you know those facts because it's easy a lot of times we kind of dismiss things, and in doing so, we take risk. Now, like I said, Hawaii, it's thought that this thing could be 1 to 3 meters, 39 to 118 inches. So that's over 3 foot or more. 118 inches, that's a whole lot taller than I am, my friends. That's taller than a one-story building. That's very tall, my friends. So the first tsunami is expected to arrive there, and it's probably already past this time now. I don't know, 7 p.m. local time in Hawaii. Alaska, now there are many communities there that may be impacted in Alaska. First, because is the Aleutian Islands, Attu, which is under warning. There's the Samoaga Pass, the Chicknick Bay got an advisory. And hey, I lived in Alaska 2 years. There's more places up there. Hey, I lived in Alabama most of my life. I can't even pronounce a lot of the places. Don't know a lot of the names in Alabama. Alaska was a lot bigger. Anyway, so the local time for the Aleutian Islands, especially Attu, is about 5 p.m. Probably already hit. They're expecting they could have a meter of water there, about 39 inches. So this is nothing to sneeze at, my friends. And the Samlaga Pass and the Chicknick Bay, they're talking 6 to 8 p.m. Alaska time. So maybe it hasn't reached there yet. And they're talking about maybe under a foot. But still, when I say a foot can sweep a sedan off the road. So again, it's nothing to sneeze at. And the U.S. West Coast, continental United States, the tsunami late advisory warning goes from British Columbia, of course, the Alaska border on that side, British Columbia, all the way down through California. The first waves are expected in Monterey County about 12:15 a.m. local time. Now I'm on that time right now, California and Arizona, because we don't do daylight savings time on the same time. So I know it's not hit there yet. San Francisco about 12:40 p.m. But the heights there are expected to be under a foot. How much, I don't know. So these are things that's just hard to say. We do, like I said, we do know there is a tsunami. We do know it's already been recorded at Hokkaido Island. We know it was 15.7 inches deep. So this there. So Aleutian Islands, like I said, under 39 inches. I don't know how you say it. Somalia Pass and Chicknick Bay under 12 inches, and there it's like to be 6 to 8 p.m. Alaska Daylight Time. I don't know how that compares. I'd have to check that out. Monterey County again, 12:15. I hit there. San Francisco 12:40. So most of these heights are estimates. They're an advisory level. So, in the West Coast of the United States, underfoot. So we don't know for a fact what that's going to be. The word is, though, that you just need to keep an eye out. You don't want to be caught on unawares if you're in those areas. And we do have people subscribe to this channel that are from Alaska. We've got people up and down the West Coast. And so I'll bring you this news so that you can be ready in case it comes to you. Now, so there's other things to be worried about too. Like now, I reported just last night about Mount Rainier, and I told you Mount Rainier had over 1,000 earthquakes. Well, it turns out that, there's usually about 9 per month. That's a typical area there. Well, they're having the largest swarm ever just this year alone, up through 2025. They've got had something like 1,010 earthquakes as of around the 27th of July. So that's 2-day-old data. Yeah. Imagine that. Over 1,000 earthquakes, Mount Rainier. Now, Mount Rainier offers a special threat to Seattle. We're not just talking about pyroclastic flows, which we'd expect that. We're not just talking about the activity of volcano. We're talking about lahars. There's big glaciers on Mount Rainier. It would create major flooding going down into Seattle. This is something people, if you got friends and family in Seattle, I hope they're on the awares, because, you got to wonder if that Cascadia subduction zone, we're going to talk about that too, if that thing should go off and you got tsunamis on the left and lahars coming down on the right, if you're looking north down the coast, I don't know that one could trigger the other. Now, see, that's just the whole thing. We're going to talk about some of these different events. There have been papers and people studying the proposition that one earthquake, one volcano or something could trigger others. But there's no way to predict how that might play out. Will it play out? These effects have been disputed by some, but it's thought that there are connections. How strong, we don't know. So could we have a cataclysmic multi-everything disaster? I don't know. Given the way our world's going right now, the biblical nature of the stuff we're facing, nothing would surprise me right now. Nothing. That's why I tell you guys, keep your eyes wide open, head on a swivel like never before. That's why we refer to my followers here as swivel heads. Now, I'm a lot earlier than normal, so I can get some different people in here than what we normally do. I just wanted to come out with this real fast. I'm not going to do a walk around in the entire news. We're going to talk about these alerts and just some of the other related things. That's why I said, tsunami alert and more in the title. So, Mount Rainier, Rainier, there is Rainier. It's just, it's something you got to really watch out for in Seattle. But then, there's also this actual seamount underwater volcano near Oregon. Now, this thing's 4,600 to 4,900 feet under the ocean. It's 300 miles off the coast, and water really mitigates the effect, especially at that depth. Could this trigger the Santa Fuca plate, the fault lines around it? Could it trigger the Cascadia subduction zone? Normally, no, it has erupted. It's erupted many times. And so it's considered that the main thing about this volcano is of scientific interest. They consider it officially to be no threat to people or coast. And in fact, it went off in 1998. It went off in 2011. It went off in 2015. And they say it's very likely it's going to go off before the end of this year. But you got to wonder when you got something on the verge, if you got something just on the verge of happening, because the Cascadia subduction zone is overdue. Could it be related? Could it trigger? I don't know. I won't say that it will. No, because they're not expecting it. But would I rule it out? Hey, Pyramid 7, long time since we've seen you here. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, guys. I need all the help I can get. My last video got about half the views of normal. So I've not been doing so many views on here. It's been hurting my channel. One reason to come back here tonight. So yeah, the actual seamount, like I said, is expecting to erupt before the year is over. And I know some of my friends like Chewy Weather have been monitoring that one quite a bit. So it's just something to keep your eyes open about, because it is close enough to the Cascadia subduction zone to kind of catch my interest. And that thing runs from California, British Columbia. Now we'll talk about Cascadia subduction zone, because it can produce an earthquake of 8.0 to 9.2. We are thought to just have had an 8.8 off the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. You got to remember, every decimal point is 10 times stronger an earthquake than the previous decimal point. So this isn't a scale that's linear. It's not like scales we typically think about. So we're talking about very powerful earthquakes that could occur in the Cascadia subduction zone. And, you know, the smaller earthquakes, what they call a partial margin rupture, about 8.0 to about 8.7 occurs every 200 to 300 years. The last earthquake in the Cascadia subduction zone was the year 1700. Okay, yeah, we're over 200 years past. So it definitely could go off. And they're thinking and talking, you know, when they talk about effects, they usually talk about the effects of a partial margin eruption, which they are concerned that everything west of, what is it, I-5 that runs up and down the west coast, the left coast there, could be taken out. And it could be worse than that. Because think back, the Fukushima accident. You know, they built those nuclear power centers. No way, we're going to design this thing for a once-in-a-thousand-year event. Well, they were way the heck off. They weren't even paying attention to what the ancestors are told. The ancestors put a big rock marking a spot, a high water spot, where they got hit by a major tsunami. Nobody paid attention to it. Nobody paid attention. The Fukushima earthquake that caused all the damage you heard about in 2011. March 11th, I think, 2000. Was that right? 2011. That earthquake was that tsunami. Let me reword this. That tsunami did not reach that water line, but there was one that did. The Cascadia subduction zone, when it went off in 1700, put a wave to that watermark line. Yes, that's what you hadn't been told or don't know. That meant that all the way across the ocean, a wave worse than what wiped Fukushima out last time hit them. They didn't know where it came from. It was many, many, many years later, not that long ago, when we finally figured it out. Yeah. Imagine that. What could the Cascadia subduction zone produce? We don't know. Are we talking about a partial margin rupture, something lower, or are we talking a full margin rupture, which is thought to hit over 500 to 530 years? Some people are saying that the stress building up there looks like it could give us a full margin eruption. We're talking an earthquake greater than 9.0 on the Richter scale, which would be 100 times stronger than the one that hit. Oh, no, more than that. It's 100 per every decimal point. Yeah, way stronger than when it just hit Kamchatka, maybe 10,000 times more powerful. I mean, we're talking numbers. Yeah, every zero, every decimal point is a zero you add into it. It's just mind-boggling. I don't know, guys. You know, the evidence of those past earthquakes are in the ghost forest, offshore, what you call turbidites, layers of tsunami sand and deposits, and of course the Japanese tsunami records. So we do know that this occurred. We do know that it was horrendous. And they believe it actually occurred at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on January 26, 1700. How about that? They got it exact within the hour time for when they believe that earthquake occurred. Wow. And that's something that we didn't have. Well, there was nobody there watching at the time. Been missing. Hey, Wise Al. Good to see you, Wise Al. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, it's real hard for me to do an early video. I got so many things going on right now too. It's hard for me to do any videos. But this is kind of an emergency alert. I'm not going around the clock on everything going on around the world right now. I did that last night. So let's go back to volcanoes. Let's go back to the topic of volcanoes because when was the last time Mount Rainier erupted? Well, it was last around AD 1450 to 1550, somewhere in that time frame, based on the geological evidence of lava flows, ash deposits, and all that good, happy stuff. So, yeah, the most recent major eruptive flow, bigger than that, was approximately 1,000 years ago. So 500, 1,000. That occurred about, AD 950 to 1050. So they can't nail that down as tight as they can that Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. And I suppose they looked at how long it takes for the tsunami to get across the ocean and what time it arrived at Japan to time that so well. The speed of these things across the ocean. So anyway, how often does Mount Rainier typically erupt? Well, they got data going back, they claim over 500,000 years. Yeah. And eruption frequency based on the last 10,000 years suggests they have small eruptions over 500 to 1,000 years. Okay. We're in it. And large eruptions over 1,000 to 2,000 years. We're actually looking like, the last large eruption was what? Over 1,000 years ago. So it could be due for a large eruption. Like I said, we just had the largest swarm of earthquakes, 1,010. So, but the news media really isn't playing that up too much. Why is that? They're afraid people are going to go running out of Seattle? I wouldn't want to be in Seattle right now. Would you want to be in Seattle? You tell me. If you were in Seattle, would you be thinking about pulling up stakes and going somewhere else? If you would, put a 2 in the chat room. If not, put a 1. I would say with the way the world's going, I wouldn't want to be around any major metropolitan area. I myself extracted myself from one and moved out to the high desert of Arizona. Arid zone. That's where I'm at right now. This is Arizona. And I am totally off grid. All the electricity coming to you is coming through my solar arrays. There's no power that reaches me. There's no water that reaches. And the internet is through Starlink. There is no kind of cables or wires. The mail don't even come to my property. But it's really convenient here. The nearest store is only 9 miles away. So that's what y'all need to be thinking about. Get somewhere where you can get away if you have to. Yeah, I know some of you do live remote, like Sasquatch Moon. I do know that Wise Owl is all in order for prepping, and I know some of you are. I do know that new days, old ways. All right, so if we can go to Mount, we're going to talk about the other Mount Rainier is not the only thing to be worried about, but the biggest thing there is a glacial load. It's loaded with glaciers, and they're going to melt and make a major flood, the Lahar. But even a small eruption or a landslide, with all the earthquakes, it could easily have a landslide. It could trigger devastating lahars, volcanic mud flows. They flow down rivers such as the Puyallup River, the Nisqually River, the White River. I don't know. That's maybe in the United States, and I know I've driven across them, but I can't tell you how to pronounce that. Yeah, I've driven through the area, but that don't mean I can pronounce everything everywhere I go. Anyway, so like I said, but believe it or not, they call the current status of this volcano dormant but active, green but normal alert. You believe that? I don't know. I think they're just, maybe nothing will happen there. But, what are the top West Coast volcanoes most likely to erupt? Actually, Mount St. Helens is number 1. Mount St. Helens is deemed to be the most likely to erupt. And I had some friends from back in the Huntsville area were just touring in that area. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the most active volcano in the Cascades. Of course, we know it erupted in 2008, minor eruption. And remember when it blew the side out in 1980? Yeah, right before I drove down the left coast. So, Mount Rainier and Washington is considered the second most likely. Mount Shasta in Northern California is the third most likely. I remember I was standing in front of a plaque looking at Mount Shasta and looking at all the farms and people that were settled there. They committed their families to a multi-generation existence there. And I read this plaque, and it seemed like what it was telling me on that plaque, if I remember correctly, was that volcano would go off and wipe out everything in the area every 200 years. And I looked at all the farms. I go, what are y'all living here for? Why are y'all here? What in the world would y'all settle out here for, given that? Wow, that's pretty darn active. The fourth most likely to erupt is Lassen Peak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Lassen Peak in California, California. It last erupted in 1914 and through 1921. It had a few eruptions there. And then this one's a little scary. The fifth most likely, Long Valley Caldera. We're talking about supervolcano. It's a supervolcano, and it's got intense ground uplift and swarm activity in Long Valley Caldera. That's one I'm going to keep my eye on. I'm more worried about that one than I am Jellystone. A lot of people are talking about Jellystone right now because it's kind of getting active. But Long Valley is considered the next. Then, of course, there's the Three Sisters up in Oregon. South Sister has uplifted significantly since 1996. Magma intrusion is very likely. So, I'm giving you the guys a rundown. Mount Hood in Oregon last erupted in 1865. It's got a steaming crater with small earthquakes frequent, and Mount Baker, Washington. Hot ground, fumaroles, glacial instability. Last eruption was 1843. So there you go. There's volcanoes that could go off right on our left coast in the Cascadia Subduction, a very, very active region. And I just wanted to bring these to you to make sure that you knew something about these, that you could be ready in case something happens in those areas. That's a lot of area, a lot of places to keep eyes on, and a lot to think about. But as preppers, that's what we do. We have to assess what our threat level is wherever we live. Everybody's got some threat level. You got hurricanes on the coastal areas. You've got earthquakes in many areas, volcanoes. You've got nuclear war potential, EMP blackout. The worst place to be anywhere is near a major city, because that's where, if the grid goes down, you're going to have a lot of hungry people really fast. Something to think about. Something to think about. Val says, I saw Mount St. Helens after it blew ash air where people collected it and put it in vials and sold it with a slogan, I got a piece of Mount St. Helens ash. Oh, Lord. New days. Throwing my hat in the speculation personally department. I'm patiently waiting for the birth of a new volcano. She's been telling me that there's reports of activity off the East Coast. And she's had some interesting dreams she told me about, guys. So Atlas, you worried about Atlas? Hey, I'm going to do a video on galactic rays. I got to go over there and do a video on Atlas, the big comet coming in interstellar. Of course, we got some people speculating about an alien invasion. It looks like a comet. We have Oort clouds that sometimes the different stars share. This one's coming in extremely fast. It's coming in about twice as fast as a normal comet. A comet, from long ways out comes in usually about 70,000 miles an hour. This thing's coming in about 140,000 miles per hour. Energy equals 1/2 the mass. And this is bigger than anything that's hit Earth since the dinosaurs got wiped out, because the one that hit then, it stopped at being 6 miles in diameter. This is 7 miles in diameter and probably coming twice as fast. This would be an extinction level event if one like that hit Earth. I'm more concerned about that. This one is not going to hit Earth. Now, it might break up when it goes around the sun, and then we might get shrapnel from it. Let's hope not. Or they may come back and get us later. But probably not. It's going so fast. All that stuff's probably going to go out of the solar system. Let's hope. Cross your fingers on that. I'd be more worried about that than some little aliens crawling off this comet. Is Avi Loeb he's the astronomer that's going, he's kind of like the guy on the History Channel. I'm not saying it's aliens, but yeah. So I'm not really, there is a channel that just came out and says, we're going to get hit with an alien invasion in November. Oh my gosh. I mean, the stuff that gets reported on here, but people watch that. A lot more people watch that channel than mine. Oh, way more. There's always the sky's falling. The sky's falling every day. How do you watch a channel where the guy cries wolf every day and says something's imminent? It's about to fall. I talk about probabilities and possibilities, but when have I ever just come out and the only thing I've said certainly was the price of food was going up, and it did, didn't it? Anyway, guys, we do have plenty to be worried about. We got plenty coming at us. Oh, yeah, that comet is bigger than Mount Everest. And Revelations talk about a mountain being thrown into the ocean and wiping out a third of the seas and killing a third of the stuff. Well, if that thing hit us coming at that velocity, it would be cockroaches would be lucky to survive. Let's just put it that way. Cockroaches would be lucky to survive. So, yeah. So, got the best name. Oh Lord, New Days. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. There's somebody, the guy I'm thinking about, he's got a name. It's real close to mine. I'm not going to name him. But anyway, so, guys, I'm here to bring it to you straight as I can. I'm not here to scare you and frighten you because I tell you not to panic. Don't ever panic. Well, I don't know if Atlas was coming straight at us, I'd say enjoy the last few seconds of life you had available. Panicking then, it's going to be beside the point. Ain't nothing you can do. That would be doomsday way over. What can we do? Build habitats off Earth. That's the only way you survive something like that. That's the only way you survive something like that. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, you better hope they get their acting gear. Right now, Elon's not doing too good. All his starships keep blowing up, and Bezos drags his feet. But hopefully, the stuff will come out. So, hey, we got Lady Dagger status in the room. Good to see that. Let me get in the chat room and scroll through and see what I missed here. I wanted to bring you the risk of volcanoes, the risk of tsunamis, the risk of earthquakes, and some of the big areas. We know that the San Andreas Fault is overdue. It's like everything's overdue. We could even have a New Madrid. Now, the New Madrid Fault is not overdue. That don't mean it couldn't erupt. And now we found another fault line up in the Yukon Territory going toward, up to northern Canada and Alaska that they thought was dead, and it turns out it's not dead, and it could release something bigger than San Andreas earthquake. Fortunately, there's not a lot of people up there, but I used to work for a guy that was in Alaska when the one hit on Good Friday, and what was that, 1964? I used to work for this guy, and there's pictures of a street in Anchorage where on one side's like this and the other side it fell down several feet. And there's no 1959 Ford Galaxy sitting in there sideways. I know because that's the kind of car that took me home from the hospital when I was born, brand new. My buddy was sitting across the street from that. He was in a bar. He was in the Army. He was at a bar drinking. He said he fell off the bar stool. And he said he thought he fell off because he got drunk. So he turned around and looked, and that street fell a story down. He said he never sobered up so fast in his life. But I've heard horror stories about that earthquake. I knew other people were there then. I've heard many stories about that earthquake. I had a friend that lived up there, and his wife, and he was in the Army at the time. He was retired when I knew him back when I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And he talked about a woman running with a baby and said the ground, just a fissure opened up and this woman fell in. She pushed her arms up, holding the baby up, and that fissure closed. And all that was there was her hands holding that baby up. There's a ton of horrific stories about that. Most people living in Alaska today weren't there then. Of course, most of them probably weren't even born then. But Alaska's had a lot of immigration movements. The population has doubled since I was up there, but still extremely remote. So I just wanted to bring these things to your attention that these earthquakes are a real possibility. We've all got things to be concerned about. And I'm going to come up with some tools to do assessments. I think I can do it where I can dial in an address and look at what are the prospects for harm there. We can look at big natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes. How about nuke war? How close is that address to a prime target, a secondary target, a tertiary target? What does that mean for radiation and fallout at that location, given prevailing winds? What about population density, EMP, food availability, water availability, local crime? I'm coming up with a system, planning to come up with a system where I can assess all of that. And I would be able at that time to give people individualized, at their address, reports like nobody else has ever done of the risk you face and what you might be able to do about it. That ain't gonna be cheap, but this is a service I may offer in the not too distant future. I'll tell you more about it when it comes. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it, but this is something I think I can do, and I don't think anybody's ever done it. Not like what I'm talking about. So I think it's something I may offer other services, lower level and even higher level for those that really are worried about their security. So we're talking about, a lot of things you can do for prepping and security, a lot more than what people are normally thinking about. Oh, we got something like WCMW and FAB. Well, that's an interesting handle name here. Says sun simulations have been activated for at least a month now. Sun simulations. Well, are you one of these that thinks the sun's not real? It's a simulator? Oh, Lord. I hope that's not what you said. KP Heathen, greeting Greg. My son is stationed in Japan with the Marines. Have you talked to him? You might want to talk with your son. See to make sure he stays away from the beach, if nothing else. Val, where do you watch the sun simulator? All right, Jeff Mullinax. Hi, Greg. All right, hit the like button. Thank you, Arnold. Oh, yeah, we got JoJo in the house. John Dancing Gypsy. Oh my God, Greg, you really look good and rested. Not as rested as you might think. Thank you. And we got Mimi, 30 more minutes before it hits Hawaii. Okay. Yeah, it could be a meter in Hawaii or higher. So if you got any friends in Hawaii, I'm sure they've heard about it, but you may want to call them. Land Worker Garden of Soul. Hey, that's a good name. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Yep. How close are you to my buddy? It's got the Steve Poplar with the Poplar Report. I talked with Steve just a couple days ago. May do a video with him soon. I've also been having conversations with Cohen over on Riverside Prepping Channel. So I've been talking with some of the other preppers lately. Tsunami, AI, aliens, cloud seeding, volcanoes says about pick a card, any card. You feel like that Illuminati Doomsday card deck? What's due in Yellowstone? I don't know. I think Yellowstone's being overplayed. Putin's birthday. Oh, yeah, that's coming up October. Well, we got this whole thing. Yeah, I blew it last night. I was so tired last night. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even remember the name of the Cascadia subduction zone. I talked about this threat that Trump put on Putin, giving him 10 to 12 days. And I said this coincides with the anniversary periods of the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But I totally blew it because I said it was 60 years. No, it's the 80th year anniversary. I should have known way better because that occurred 15 years before I was born. And 60 years ago, I was a 5-year-old kid running around in the fields and pastures and forests in North Alabama. I was a young wild dude running out in the woods. Mrs. Beanfield, true. I think I was 12-year old when I bought the. Okay, good. So going through the chat, how many got? We only got 88 in the house. That's kind of depressing considering how early we come on for a change. But my last video didn't do that good. Arizona for the win, says Billy Wayne Norwood. There you go. Sunshine CST girl. CST. Chris? I don't know. Sunshine something. Are we not having meteor showers tonight? Oh, I didn't look at that. We might. We got a very thin sliver of a moon. I'd read something about that. Grand Canyon State. That we are. We are the Grand Canyon. That if you've never been to the Grand Canyon, come see it, guys. Wow. Rumble, rumble. You're right, Jason, over at Green Country Agroforestry. Guys, go watch his channel. Go watch Jason over at the Green Country Agroforestry. He's got an amazing channel. He puts out great content and don't get near enough watchers considering the value of the content he puts out. If you want to know about growing a garden, go watch Jason. I'm trying the Three Sisters here, but I just discovered a new threat to my garden. Tiny little Tweety birds. Oh my gosh, they've done more damage than cows could do. I'll talk about that more in the future. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Atlas because it's going to miss us, hopefully. But it don't mean another one can't come. It was just a bolt out of the blue. We didn't expect it until it's in our solar system, and it's huge. Yeah. You missed parts of the channel. What was that, JoJo? All right, it's probably hitting Hawaii by now. We should probably be able to hear something, folks. So let's scroll up. Killer Smurf, how you doing? Rodney, we got Rodney from down under. Got you in early, Rodney. You probably won't be doing lunch right now. Maybe you just had breakfast or not. 12 Bravo from Georgia. Hey, 12 Bravo from Georgia. Fort Benning. That's what I call that place. Giant aliens. Oh, I did a photograph from the Grand Canyon. I posted on Facebook. So, wow, there's a big hole in the ground here in Arizona. So 3ILS has already been made a sign in the heavens, regardless of what it does from here. You know, the watchman, I can't argue with that. It is a sign in the heavens. There are days I do a lot of philosophical rambling while pulling weeds. I occasionally drop hints about the tree of life and the philosopher's stone. There you go. Hey, Jason is one smart cookie, guys. He is one of the smartest guys out here. So 3:14 p.m. here. Okay, Rodney. I don't know, you might get some little something out on the coast there out of this, but maybe not too big. I hadn't heard any reports on Australia yet. So let's hope. But if it could be hitting California, you might get a foot. I like to hear, Rodney. If it hits Australia, what'd you get? What did you get? So anyway, folks, the wave patterns I saw and the colored zones to be aware of, a lot of the islands in the Pacific. I didn't see Australia being colored, but don't mean it's not. So, you know, these tsunamis are a little hard to absolutely predict. Luciferian mindset, says this, the A canal hypnotist. Oh, you know, there's a big deception coming, guys. According to the Bible, there's a deception that's going to be so powerful it would fool even the elect. Oh, there's something to keep your eyes wide open for and head on a swivel. What is that deception? What is that deception? And the new Fantastic Four had the galactic creature coming from, that was New Jupiter. I don't know what you're saying there. I had no idea, Jason, you were humble. Yeah, Jason's great, man. Jason's great. And we got Jason Smith in the house, too. Australia had a 6.5 earthquake down near Tasmania 2 days ago. Hey, Colorado Jan, how are you doing? Good to see you. So, Jason, I've been trying the Three Sisters here, but the third sister, all these little Tweety birds keep plucking the big. I planted these pole lima beans. The beans are like lima bean size. It's supposed to go up a pole. Well, these birds can't eat these beans. They're too big for them. So what do? They pluck them out of the ground and eat the sprout. As soon as they start to sprout, I had a ginormous bag of these seeds. They just about ate one of them. I don't know if I'm gonna get any coming up. Uh, I have taken some action with those birds though, so maybe they know that it's not safe to be in my garden. I hope they got that idea. Can you share a link for Jason's channel? Um, Jason put it in. Yeah, Jason can do it. Jason, put the channel link. Put your channel link in. You probably click on his name and it go there. That's the name of his channel, Green Country Agroforestry. And you may recall that I actually did it. I've been up there and done a couple of interviews from his place. I hope I can do it again. Also, Doug over at Uncommon News 777, he sent me something about, oh shoot, boys, I'm getting brain locked. Go check his channel out too. He just did a major report yesterday. So, yeah, you may be right, Jason, because that's what he was talking about. But Lindsey Graham was foolishly talking about a bunch of junk. If Lindsey Graham came out and said that Trump was going to whip Putin, and he drew an analogy with our hit on Iran, which is stupid talk. Stupid talk. It's like trying to incite a war. I mean, he's nothing but a chicken hawk. I mean, there's not been a war he don't like. He wants us in a war every way he can shake it. So the birds going after the tender shoots for the water, most likely. You know, I used to keep water pans out to keep birds from picking my tomatoes. But, you know, yeah, these should be little seed-eating birds, but the seeds I got are too big for them. October 7th, 2023. Yeah. So what's coming, guys? What's coming at us? You need to be aware. Keep your eyes wide open, head on a swivel more than ever. All right, I've been on 41 minutes. I think I've done enough danger here for one night. So I got other things I got to do, and I need to hit the hay. I got to get up early tomorrow. I have to get up early, because some of my meetings are with Germans early in the morning. It's late for them when it's early here. In a desert, they need every wisp of moisture they can get. Okay. But they do. They go for those. They go for the seedlings when they just sprout, and they've totally wiped out my beans. I mean, I had a giant, enormous, big bag of these beans, and I believe I got every one of them. So, and some other beans I'd planted too. Yeah, they're, you know, everybody warned me about rats. My cats run off the rats. Everybody warned me about rabbits. Well, I'm putting a fence up. I may have got a rabbit in the garden. Some of the tops, a little bit of my corn got chewed on, but that might have been a rabbit. There's several phenomenology into a garden out here that's not what I'm accustomed to. I'll do a video on high desert gardening in the not too distant future, maybe a couple of videos. I may break it in two. So the cacti develop spines to keep them from taking their water. Amen. I wish my beans had spines. The Galactica is some villain that eats planets. Oh, yikes. Worms. Yeah, I'm going to do worms again. That's the plan. I just got to get the water out to where my sled beds are. All kind of new things to learn. Amen, Green. Amen, Jason. Amen. All kind of new things to learn. Well, it's a very extremely different environment I'm growing in now. I am growing some stuff, but it's been a huge challenge. I expect I'll do a lot better next year with the lessons I've learned so far this year. And I'll share some of those with you. Desert worms. Amen. They're coming. They're coming. Watch out for the worms. So they're coming. All righty, folks. I'm going to call it a night. We've already been on 43 minutes. I think it's typically as long as we ought to go. I just had these alerts, but I know you've already heard about the tsunami. I wanted to kind of break it down and talk about what these lower wave thresholds really mean and why you need to be concerned about them. And I wanted to bring up these related to risk, especially all the activity of Mount Rainier and other prospective volcanoes out on the left coast. So stuff to be aware of. And I also just want to let you know I'm planning to do some very comprehensive work where I can dial into your neighborhood and tell you what risk you face. And I'm looking at see if I can identify factories and plants that could pose risk, rail lines. Remember the trains that went off in what was it, Palestine, Ohio? I'll see if there's some things like that I can bring into it too. That's going to be harder to hit at. High desert scares me, does it? Well, I do have to keep an eye out when I'm planting for and watering my garden in the afternoon for mountain lions. I had a neighbor that had one jump on her back patio in the middle of the day, and her dog, and she had a big, one of those sliding glass window doors, and right out to her patio, and the dog was inside, big dog, barking and raising Cain. That cat just looked at the dog, jumped up on her sofa on the patio, took a crap. Now, most cats do that where they can bear it, but no, it took a crap on the sofa and jumped off the porch, just like to say, you. Wow, that was a bold cat. But he was basically telling that dog and all the inhabitants in that house, I got you. I ain't worried. That's a pretty wild cat. You know, Mount Spur. There you go, Watchman. So, Killer Smurf. Yeah, we've lost, what was his name? We used to call him Kermit. Scratch. That's the one I miss. Scratch, Granny Lana. We've lost some of our family and a few others. It's a high challenge level environment to be sure. Hey, the soil here is alkaline. If you pour vinegar on the soil, it's like plopping alka seltzers in the water. It fizzes. I mean, big time fizzes. Big time fizzes. It's very alkaline. And it's dry. And it's not just that you don't have the water, the air sucks the water out of the soil. And the soil here, what they call topsoil out here, is what I would have called subsoil in Alabama. I mean, deep subsoil. So the nutrients just ain't the same. All righty. Yeah, Sunshine Girl. I think we're about rattlesnakes. I'm going to tell you something. Everybody worries about rattlesnakes. In Alabama, I saw copperheads every year. Lots of them. I ain't seen any kind of snake out here. So they're here, but I think I had a lot more snakes in Alabama. So at least rattlesnakes will sometimes give you the courtesy of rattling to warn you that you're in the danger zone. So you got to give them credit for that. Although I hear that the anti-venom is extremely expensive. I hope not. I hope I don't have to find out. What my deer didn't get this year, the rabbits did. Oh, I'm putting a fence up around my garden. I'm putting a heck of a fence up with a barrier on the bottom to keep rats out. I mean, it's going to be either solid. Most of it is going to be solid roofing tin. Really, it's either aluminum or most of it's steel, actually. And then I got some wire mesh I'm using too. And then I got hog wire above that. This fence is about, it's higher than my head. I'm going to try to keep stuff out, but I need bird netting over the top of that or something. I got to come up with some way to get the birdies out other than scaring them to death. I did a little bit more than scare. Anyway, all right, my friends, we're 48 minutes. I think that's long enough for one night. So I'm going to say thank you, mods, for keeping our channel clean here. This is a family channel. Thank you for keeping it clean. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please share my video. When I go live like this, I don't get the commercial advertising links that I normally get, but hopefully you share the video and some other people watch it, and that'll help build up the views. My view count is way down. I need y'all to help me get it up. So share my videos. Go in to the comment section after I post it and chat with each other. Be sure you hit the thumbs up. So again, thank you, mods. Thank everyone for watching. And just keep your eyes wide open and the head on a swivel. More to come. And with that, I'm going to say a good night, good day to everyone, wherever you are. That's like the last line in The Night Before Christmas, I think. Ho, ho, ho. Green Giant. Greg out. Wait a minute, I'm on the wrong screen.